This meeting of the Tyler ISD Board of Trustees was previously called to order. The presence of a quorum has been established and the meeting has been duly called. The notice of the meeting has been posted in the time and manner required. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight and sitting so far back. I'm glad we have mics. As always, we will start the meeting with the prayer and the pledge. And Mr. Newsom, it is your turn.
May we bow. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, once again, we come to you, and on this way we know how. Giving you thanks for the things that you continually do for us on behalf of Tyler Independent School District, dear Lord. We know that you've watched over us. You've allowed everything to go well. We pray that you will continually provide that guidance and direction as we go forth. Lord, we thank you for our teachers and students and support staff and individuals that work within our district. Pray that everything will go well as we go into a new year and plan for that new year, that you will continually watch over them, that they can work as a unified group to provide the best opportunity for our students. God, we know that you're there sitting on your throne and watching and providing for us guidance. We pray that we will be willingly accepting that guidance, that we can do the best we can as a board for the students within our district. We thank you for being the God that you are. In Christ's name, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Newsom. We do not have any action coming out of executive session. So we'll move on to public participation, and it does not appear that we have anybody from the public here to participate. I guess we'll move on to the approval of minutes. We have a workshop from June 8th and regular meeting on June 19th. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from those meetings.
Move we approve those minutes.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. The minutes are approved. Okay, we have a CTE certifications update.
Coming to the table to present is Dr. Kristen Walls, Executive Director of College and Career. Welcome, Dr. Walls, to the presentation of good news, as we always have. Your predecessor, Gary Brown, certainly set us up well for the reporting of such and the goal keeping of such as well. And we're going to turn it over to you so you can provide this all-important CTE update.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Crawford, President Washman, and the Board of Trustees. I always like to bring good news, and the CTE certifications update definitely does that. So if we start off, we're going to kind of take a look at where we've been. The accountability is based on, for CTE, the CCMR. It's usually some leg data. So what we had in 2020, we started off for our certifications was 26.3. The class of 2021, we jumped up to 42.7. And then our projected amount for the class of 2022, we're pretty solid on this. This is 45%, so it moved up to that. And that's what's going to be on the accountability for this year. It is, even though we had class of 2023, it's always 1 year behind. And so this is going to be a little bit different. I did want to kind of do a little side note, though. If you take a look at our goals, which was 29.4 by June 2026, things have changed quite a bit last year. Our new CCMR goal has jumped quite a bit. So we kind of realigned some things and have made progress even in 2023. Just to have a little refresher, college and career readiness indicators are for college ready, we have the score 3 or higher in AP exam, TSI, or the 3 hours in math or ELA, as well as earn 9 hours of college credit in any subject, and that also includes CTE for the dual credit courses that we have there. For career ready, this year, the students just needed to earn the industry-based certification based on that TEA list, or they can earn a level 2 or level 1 certificate. That's going to TJC, earning dual credit and completing all those courses, and they can earn those. And then they've added back military enlistment for this year. So based on that, I will kind of mention the accountability measures have changed to 88% for districts to get an A. That was before at 70.2. So quite a bit of an increase. This year we spent a lot of time just working on that and aligning those certifications to ensure students could get there. So if you're taking a look at the graphic we have for the class of 2023, 845 industry-based certifications were earned by our seniors. And so it's a little bit different from the year before, which I said we had an increase. So overall, that's a 10% increase. 55% of our seniors ended up with a certification for the class of 2023. So getting there, getting there. The 9th through 12th graders, though, if you take all those certifications, we had 1401. So we increased that quite a bit. Last year, the entire total was 870. So 845 for our seniors this year, and then 1401. So we've increased that quite a bit. And looking forward as we align the programs, jumping down to 8th grade, and really trying to impact and helping students navigate through that to get the certifications that are going to be helping them either going into career or into their college years. I want to kind of share with you some of our top certifications earned. So we have the Automotive Service Excellence. This is refrigerant recovery. We had 99 students earn certifications in that. The National Center for Construction Education and Research. The core level 1 is more of the safety course for all of our construction classes, and we had 82. Certified EKG, we had 76 students earn that certification. 60 students going out for patient care techs, so going out into the hospitals and working there. And then OSHA 30, which is Occupational Health or Safety and Health Association. So we have, that one is 30 hours, and we had 60 students actually earning that one. So they took quite a bit of time earning that particular certification. So the remaining certifications within that, spanning those 26 programs, were non-commissioned security officer. Something we're looking forward for next year will be our jail academy, which we're starting this year. Small animal science for our vet tech program. They opened up a number of certifications, so nearly all of our students who took the certification earned that one, so that was really good. And then certified medical assistant, our EMT program, and then Adobe Premiere for those who are in AV and graphics. And that is my update. Any questions?
Board, anybody?
So there's some certifications that are not TEA approved, right?
Yes, I mean, you could have some. So for example, if you were doing CPR certification, that wouldn't go towards the accountability. However, we still offer it. For many of our students that are going into like EMT or EKG or any of the healthcare, they really need to have that CPR first, even though it's not industry aligned, or it's industry aligned, but it's not accountability, we still offer those particular.
And those aren't in the numbers?
Those ones aren't in the numbers. So we have earned quite a few more, like food handlers when we have our cafe, that's not part of it, but food service managers, so those are part of it.
You mentioned expanding down to the 8th grade. How would you go about doing that?
Well, we were really intentional, so we won't have certifications because they are post-secondary for most of them, but we spent a lot of time in 8th grade trying to counsel and help them choose and even think about and expose them to different types of careers. A lot of times, even students just don't know, or they listen to what their parents say, and we're really trying to find what their interest is. And since we have such a great district and the Career and Technology Center that offers them that hands-on training and work-based learning, they were able to come to the CTC. We went to those classrooms and just kind of educate them on what are those opportunities, giving them a little bit better choice or informed choice as they move forward.
For the military enlistment, how long do they have to enlist? Do they have to be enlisted before they graduate, or how does that work?
When we place our, our numbers in, we have the early, which is at the time in June, but by the 31st of July. And so as long as we have that and we capture that and we know it, it's hard once they graduate to tell us that, yes, hey, I've enlisted last minute, but if we can capture that, we can go ahead and put it in there.
So we've got our sharp data guy here tonight, Dr. Curitan. Am I correct in saying that the ratings that are coming out this September, they changed the game on us on CCMR for this year, but they're going to use 2022 kid data, correct? Okay, so it's not real time on the CCMR. And as Dr. Walls described, they really jacked up the target. Not our goal, but the target for CCMR. So there will be a little prelude here for y'all, a little appetizer, that there'll be some quirkiness in the accountability system this coming year that'll impact ratings, especially at the high school level, because of that data being used from last year to this year in a new way of doing data. Still feel good about where we wound up, but that is something that the public needs to know about as we go forward. I know a lot of high schools, a lot of districts of our size and larger, especially in TSA, the Texas School Alliance, we lobbied the commissioner to either hold harmless that or to figure out some way to not rate your schools with that indicator. But he held firm, held pat on what he said. I mean, after all, a C this year is better than a B last year, is what has been said from the agency. One other thing, Dr. Curitan, while you're here, not taking over Dr. Walls, culinary, we alluded to that. Cosmetology, is that one of the, we've got 2 labs that are incredible, that are the envy of every school system that comes to visit us, with our culinary arts and our cosmetology labs at the CTC. Tell us about cosmetology. What does that pathway look like as far as them being able to score for us?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. Because that's a popular, obviously a popular choice that our students are making. The reason I bring that up is there's a lot of rhetoric that comes out of TEA at some of those what we think are more softer skills. But remember, on the cosmetology, to be able to score, you've got to take a state test to be a licensed cosmetologist / barber. So think about that. When people go to barber school, that's a state exam. So sometimes folks snicker at that, but we've got some kids that are doing amazing things with that. And Texas is growing, so obviously there is a need for more cosmetologists, professionally speaking, in the state. And so anyway, sometimes you just kind of wonder if the state changes up on us these great facilities that the public has given us. What does that do as far as our curriculum goes, and what our accountability dreams and goals and aspirations, if they're being met? So they are being met in both of those content areas as far as facilities are concerned.
Thankful for all our programs that we align. They all have an industry-based certification, and we were able to bring, for the majority of them, down to 10th grade, 11th grade, and so they can stack the certification. So we should be in really good shape. And after going to CTAT a couple weeks ago, I feel much better.
See what?
The Career and Technical Association of Texas,
Okay,
CTAT.
there you go. All right. Another acronym for y'all.
Correct.
2 more questions. One on the, you alluded the other day at principal training. They're now counting enlistment in the Texas National Guard as military readiness. Okay, that's good, all right. Well, I don't forgot my other one, wasn't important. So, there you go, okay.
All right. Any
Okay,
further questions?
Well, so we're up to 45%. And you alluded to, and forgive me for not remembering, but, our new goal is that, were you referring to what the state was doing, or didn't we amend our goal since we blew it out of the water early on? And so is it by
Right, so
still by
we-
2026, and what is the new goal?
We are going to be moving that up.
Okay.
So
To be determined.
this year,
Okay.
in class of 2023, the projections are about 55% of our seniors graduated with a certification.
Wow.
So we are going to be moving that up. I met with the team last week and then this week as we're moving that forward closer to the goal. Ultimately, for all of CCMR, it's going to be 90% for our goal for the district for goal 3. However, we're looking at about 65% because that's also included the military as well as all our advanced academic.
Yeah.
So if we can get to 65 to 70% of industry certifications, I feel pretty solid that we're going to get there.
But it also includes, am I right, correct, Dr. Curidan? It also includes our masters. We get credit in our STAR. Yes. So just your high school stuff?
Correct.
Okay. But college readiness is determined in our state ratings by how many kids we have that score masters on our STAR test. Right. Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on our business, legal, finance consent agenda, we do have, there are 4 items there. One, which is B, we're going to pull that and talk a little bit about it. And Dr. Crawford, you mentioned maybe tabling D until.
That is correct. We're still working on the contract with Texas, University of Texas. Excuse me? And we're going to, I'm sorry, not pulling D in the first, it's going to be in curriculum instruction.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Okay, no.
Yeah.
No, thank you for clarifying.
Okay.
You got to keep an eye on me. Okay, so I'll go ahead and I guess entertain a motion then on A, C, and D on the business, legal, finance, and consent, or consent agenda. And then we can talk about B and then move on that.
I move we approve items A, C, and D from the business, legal, finance consent agenda.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion carries. And then on B, Mr. Newsom, we want to talk a little bit about the compensation structure for this coming year.
Yes. Yes, I always receive a lot of calls when it comes to money. So I wanted to make sure that we talked about that, and hopefully the individuals that I'll ask these questions are listening, and we'll get a good understanding of how we go about doing that, as well as making sure that they understand that we are competitive in most areas, I think.
Yeah, so Tasha Bjork will certainly assist in this conversation in regard to what our compensation plan looks like, and all of our different pay grades are attached inside of your board agenda packet, starting on page 20, I believe.
So the first page is the teacher and nurse compensation that we went over, I believe, in May, and you provisionally approved. And we will be able to go forth with that, so we're having that approved finally tonight too. And then the next page are our clerical technical pay ranges, and we're doing 5% of the midpoint. So if you're under the midpoint, you get more than 5%. If you're over it, you get a little less. And this is the amount per hour they get. That's in the far column. So for instance, bus drivers, they're on their own pay grade. They get $1.14. And the same.
Do I ask questions as I go, or do I?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Now, in regards to this category of individuals, I know bus drivers and, well, bus drivers in particular may be part-time. How many hours a week?
They're
are
4
they?
hours,
4 hours a day?
but they work more than that, but that's what
They
they're,
can do additional contract or whatever you call it.
but they're
work.
50% employees. Some are just 50%.
Okay,
And then we have some food service that are manual trades, pay grade 2 and 3 and 4. They're 75%. They're 6 hour.
okay. And I think that the concern from that group is no benefits. Now.
No, they get benefits.
They get benefits?
They're considered
part-time benefits,
full-time.
or how do you explain the benefits? The
I'm s-
benefits, how, the benefits that they get for those positions that they hold, like custodians, do they get
They
benefits
get
as
health
far as
insurance.
coverage and,
Uh-huh. They
And a-
get anything, they're considered a full-time, like, employee of Tyler ISD, so they
Right.
get any benefits that any other employee,
medical benefits as well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
if they so choose.
right, if they choose to go with the plan, okay. Okay.
Is
And
there
then the
some,
next-
is something getting back to you saying that they're not receiving
Well,
benefits?
I think that sometimes they don't completely understand the option
Sure.
in regards to actually having those benefits and how it works. And in that aspect, I think that that's, maybe they don't understand it,
Well, we sit down, we go over it with the group.
yeah.
So unless they miss the meeting, we go over the fact that, and everyone has to go through enrollment, open enrollment. And so they have to do that.
Okay,
So new employee induction, we have those routinely, Mr. Jones, when we hire a bus driver in, say, middle of October. They will actually we will sit down with that individual to go over these types of things, correct? That is correct. Okay, good deal. And then every year, starting back, I guess when we return to school, we choose, every employee, whether you're a returning employee or a new employee, choose what type of health insurance and other benefits that you
We
want
have
to receive.
tons, like they can get dental, vision, whatever.
Right. And that's done online, correct?
Exactly. Mhm.
And I know some folks are,
We help them if
and my
they.
dad, as educated as he is, he hates technology, but we sit down with them
Mm-hmm.
and work with them in regard to try to get them through the actual enrollment of such. Okay.
Yes.
okay.
And then the professionals, we're doing 3% of midpoint. And so that's what the next few pages are. Far corner shows the amount of their annual raise.
Explain professionals, just so we're publicly identifying what that means.
Anyone that is not, that has a degree, that is in a job, that they don't have to punch a clock, basically.
Right. So it could be someone who works in HR, correct? Okay. What about master teachers? I think that's,
They're
A
on
question
this.
that's been up
They're
here.
great. They're on this. They're
Which one do they fall under?
192. So if you go to that chart, I think they're a pay grade 3. So
Okay, 192.
$1,841.
they are part of the administrative team, but they also work as an instructional coach for the most part on that campus.
Yeah.
So the choice there is what your, what do you want your job description to be? You want to be a classroom teacher, or do you want to be coaching teachers? So I think sometimes there's a confusion there that they may make administrator pay, but it's actually more days, correct?
It's 5 more days than teachers.
5 more days than teachers. So the choice would be to remain as a classroom teacher or to leave the classroom to influence more teachers instructionally speaking. But the pay grade is the same or similar to what, as far as daily rate goes,
Right.
right? It's just
We
more days.
try to make sure they make their daily rate they were
Right.
making it.
Okay.
Because that was the concern. I think one master teacher was saying she was losing money going from the classroom to being a master teacher, and she felt like she was helping the teachers, so she felt like she should have gotten more pay instead of losing and being reduced.
Yeah,
from
you
that
shouldn't be
standpoint.
losing. Again, if there's question about that, then finance and business office can do a workup to make sure that you're not. We try to work with our teachers if they come out of the classroom to go do the master teacher job. But it is not an administrative job. They're part of the team, but it's not part of the administrative roles and responsibilities. Because normally, those master teachers don't have after-hours responsibilities. Sometimes they will. But we try to make sure that they are during the day to provide coaching to the teachers.
It's also a pathway, though, for them to advance to AP.
It is.
And so
It is.
they realize that too, when they take that job, that, you know, it may not be that big of an increase in pay, but they're on a pathway to move up.
And I'll say one more thing about that specific role. Now that we've got the teacher incentive allotment district-wide,
Yeah.
if you want to make the real money, the real money coming in that you know, pre-administrative position is actually stay in the classroom and make improvements in student outcomes. So there's always options, certainly to advance, but it's going to become harder to leave the classroom because of TIA now. At least that's our aspirations.
So in all aspect, a teacher that's considering being a master teacher, it may be to their advantage to stay in the classroom and get some stipends based on being in the classroom, and they would make more.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I would encourage them to do so. We want those good teachers to stay in the classroom.
Okay. As far as the percentage, how you come up with that as to 5 versus 3 versus whatever?
Just dollar amount, what's it gonna cost and what can we afford? But we usually try to do the hourly at a higher percentage
Right.
than the,
Yeah, that would make sense.
yeah, last year it was 2% for administrator and 3 for hourly, but this year we went up a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it
Just
does.
based on what we can afford.
It does, I think, get into a school finance discussion here about a school system being pretty fixed in their revenue. There's not a whole lot of revenue generators going on, especially post-COVID now. Student attendance is not what it used to be. A lot of that has to do with the parents' feelings about their kids going to school. I've got one in my house. She's going to go, but I don't think every parent feels that way now. So that's about the only way you can generate that revenue. We've grown a little bit, and that's helped us. But then you get over into the property appraisal debate, and even though your property appraisals have gone up, they are capped as far as how much can be taxed by either your local school system and or the state. And so we are pretty fixed on our revenues is the point I'm getting here. So windfall as far as salary increases go are going to stay in that 3 to 5% range because that's about all we're allowed to go up. What are we capped at, Tasha?
For taxes?
Yes.
2.5%.
2.5%. So, 85%, about 85% of our expenditure is in people. Some of those people cost more than others based on their years of experiences or their risk within the organization.
Exactly, yes.
Along with the scale in the organization. So, we've got, I think, 1,700 or 1,500 teachers district-wide or professional staff district-wide. That'll take up a large bulk of that 85%.
Yes.
So it's complex as opposed to just looking at maybe an industry that makes widgets to increase the cost because of inflation, to give their employees raises. We don't have that ability to drive up our revenue. The only people that can do that are going to be in a special session this October called the Texas Legislature. So they can take a look at the current inflationary issues that we're contending with right now, not just on school districts' budgets for fuel and supplies, but what it takes to live in Texas, and we're talking about our teachers. And so that's why we've come to y'all with this proposal this year, being pretty aggressive about it when there's a lot of people that are pulling their reins back and adopting deficit budgets.
Okay. One last category is the subs. There was a publication that came out in one of the districts recently, increased their sub pay considerably in some areas. And so, of course, that was the call that why is it we're not doing that? And you kind of alluded to that. But what is the rate for our subs as far as within the district?
I believe if you're non-certified, it's $85. Certified, $95. If it's long-term, like you're in the classroom for someone out, is it $110?
Yes.
And then, I think that's it.
Okay.
We raised those last year.
Yeah, that's the next question. I
Right.
thought we did something like that. We gave them
We
an
did.
increase
We
last
raised
year
them.
or sometime.
We did.
And this, but the 23, the one we're finishing up, we raised them.
Okay. Well, that was I think, the list of things in regards to that. My thing is, I think that, and I mentioned this once before, looking at not only the salary, but the benefit package and what we offer as far as the district compared to other districts in the area, I think that we have a better package compared to some of those other ISDs in the area. So I think that sometimes people look at only salary versus benefits, but benefits cost money as well, and it's to your advantage to definitely look in detail when you look at those things.
Just a side note, 1996 and 1997, I was a sub in Irving ISD. I made $45 a day doing that with a degree. Now, that was nearly 30 years ago. I understand that. It's 25 years ago now or so. But that we're going to take care of our subs. And a lot of that's need-driven as well. And I learned that as being a sub whenever I was doing that years back. And that's, if our teachers come to work, then our outcomes are going to improve because they're the certified teacher in the classroom. And perhaps if we don't get the attendance rate we need for our teachers, then we need more subs. And then therefore have to pay more people in those substitute pools. So if we can shrink the amount of subs we need because teachers' attendance has improved, then you can pay your subs better.
Right.
If that makes sense. So we need our teachers to come to work for so many reasons. And if paying subs better is a residual from that, I'll take it. But mainly it's about student outcomes. So,
Thank you.
okay.
I'm always glad to see when we're making pretty aggressive moves on teacher salaries, especially, they're the straw that stirs the drink in this whole thing. And we need good teachers in the classroom. So whenever we can have a competitive advantage in the classroom, I'm all about it. So,
Hey, talent is what matters.
Yep.
John Hattie, the great educational researcher, that's the number one thing that makes an impact on student outcomes, and that is a qualified rock star teacher in front of every kid. And so I'm glad we're able to target them as well and keep competing. If we get some good news come October, we'll continue to work on everybody, just like we have.
very well. Unless anybody has any further comments or questions, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to approve item B.
Motion to approve the compensation structure for 23-24.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, the motion carries. Now, moving on to curriculum instruction consent agenda. This is the one we needed to table item D on, correct, Dr. Crawford?
Yes, sir.
Apologies there. I will go ahead and entertain a motion then to approve items A through K with the exception of D.
So move.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, and the motion carries. And then, do I need to have a motion to table item D? I'll go
Motion to
ahead and-
table item D.
Very good.
And second,
All in favor,
okay.
say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? As having, the motion carries. Item D is tabled. Okay, now we're moving on to some cooperative purchasing fees report.
Yeah, on page 50 in your packet, this is a statutorily required report. It's not an action item. I'm sure some legislative electee down in Austin in one legislative session said, those cooperative purchasing fees are too high. We need to take a look at them. We need those publicly reported. And so we are publicly reporting those fees right now. On page 50, you can see what those fees are. Y'all may remember that a cooperative is like a buy board or a region service center, state-approved vendor list to where they've done all the bidding, et cetera, out. So here we go. There's the list of the no fees. Everybody from the Allied States Cooperative, that's a Region 14 cooperative. Then you got PACE, you got Tips Taps. You've got ESC Region 11. You've got E&I Cooperative Services. Then you got various fees down here. Central Texas Purchasing Alliance for $150 annual fee. You've got the Region 7 ESC is $9,261. Why is that higher than the other ones, Tasha? Okay, so that's an aggregate type
All
of
our
thing.
food service.
Yeah.
All that. yeah.
Okay, good. There you go. So keeping it local here in East Texas, Region 7. Then you got TASB Buy Board Cooperative, it's $800 there. And then Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts, Texmas, $100 annual fee. So there's your report for cooperative purchasing fees. If you'd like to discuss, feel free to call Tasha Bjork or myself in regard to those fees.
Thank you for the report. Anybody have any comments or questions regarding purchasing fees, co-op purchasing fees? Okay, thank you for the report. We are moving on to a few discussion items. We have a student code of conduct and some first readings on some TASB and local policies.
Coming up to the mic is Chief of Staff, Deputy Superintendent, Mr. Ron Jones, followed by him is the Director of Constituent Services, Mr. John Johnson. You have a middle initial, John? D. John D. Johnson. All right. So we're going to let them provide us a discussion here for the first reading of the Student Code of Conduct. They'll go over any tweaks we've made here. Y'all can pepper them with some questions if you want to, and then also obviously some DAP information for you as well. Gentlemen.
Board President Washman, trustees, Dr. Crawford, it is indeed our pleasure to be back before you once again to provide this annual update about our Choice Campus DAEP. In addition to that, we have the first reading of the Student Code of Conduct, and I'm going to turn the mic over to Mr. Johnson for him to give you a brief on some of the changes in the Student Code of Conduct, and then we'll go into the DAEP data.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Board. Good evening, President Washman. We have a list here. The legislature has, given several, not really corrections, but changes, some amendments. But the first that we need to cover is on page 6 of the Student Code of Conduct, where we have added significant disciplinary infractions. And that has been added in order to deal with students who sometimes commit significant disciplinary infractions, and they do it at kind of opportune times, such as the end of the school year or spring break, kind of those times when they feel like the guard is let down, and so they want to kind of be rambunctious. And so what this does, this empowers our campus principals to be able to address those infractions, dealing with any mandatory placement offenses such as assaults, alcohol, or illegal drugs, or acts of vandalism against district facilities. And what this does for them, it gives a clearly defined ability to withhold those completion ceremonies or field trips and other things that can be used as an incentive through the year for compliance and for that. So when they do these things, commit these types of infractions, then that principal then also has the ability to say, okay, we cannot let you go on end of the year field trips or things of that nature if you're not conducting yourself appropriately. That's that piece. Any questions regarding that? Okay, as far as the changes from the state, is concerning.
John, can I jump
Yes,
in?
sir, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
So I have a senior, so I just want to make clear, like, that includes prom, that includes graduation, that includes all that stuff.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All activities. Yes, sir.
Who determines that significant disciplinary infraction?
That would be determined with the campus principal, and they would then staff that and have insight from their chain of command.
Good.
So the level 2 offense triggers it really,
Yes, sir.
right?
Anything that has a
So,
placement.
so if we have an alcohol incident, I don't know, say right prior to spring break or right after spring break, you know, alcohol on the bus or something like that, you get your DAP placement, and the principal say, and you're also not going to be able to go to the end of, I don't know, to Grand Slam or something like that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, sir.
For an end of year activity.
So do you want me to hit
Rogers, right?
Yeah.
No Grand Slam for you, okay?
Without this, someone over here.
Oh.
So in regards to the other ones are just the statutory amendments and changes from the state that came in, and you guys have been presented with all of those, along with a checklist here to help you.
CBC is the campus behavior coordinator.
Yes, sir.
State changed that from actually spelling it out to just putting the initials there, right?
CBC, yes, sir.
So every campus should have a campus behavior coordinator identified. That's usually an assistant principal, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
One other thing to note is that we have been ahead of the state in regards to vapes. With the change that they've now implemented, it mirrors what we started last year here. So that's not a change for us.
Funny, I had a conversation with another superintendent today at a meeting over at TJC, and they talked about what the state has done in regard to vaping, and said they're going to have to build a new building. I said, well, we already have a wing that's named after one of our esteemed administrators over there at DAP in regard to the vaping issue that we have. So if they hadn't been attacking this issue from the disciplinary side like we have, they're in for a pretty good awakening here with what's going to happen. So
Y'all did a good job predicting that and getting ahead of it, because it has exploded.
Yeah.
It has.
Could you explain, so that since we have a problem within our district that's somewhat significant, could you explain the guidelines for that in regards to the vaping?
Yes, sir. In regards to vaping, there are two categories. Vape that contains THC, which previously had been mandatory. Then in our district, we started to implement placement even with just a regular e-cigarette or vape that did not contain THC. But at this point now, all those will be mandatory placements. And so we have, like I said, we implemented that last year, and also this year we have added in intervention strategies to help with resources of trying to really teach the young people the ramifications of what it's doing to their bodies, what continued abuse of the vapes can do to them.
Okay.
here's our plea again. We need some help. We need some help. We can't solve every world problem that's out there. We need some help from our enforcement agencies. We need P&Z to take a look at it as well in regard to how many vape stores per capita that we have here in Tyler, Texas. It's not the Smith County that I know. So sure would appreciate a little assistance on that if you're watching.
ready for the DAEP update.
So just to be clear, VAPE gets you DAEP?
DAEP, a Disciplinary Alternative Education Program.
Very good.
You go back one, I just want to acknowledge campus leadership over at the DAP, and that would be Ms. Patrina Pinkerton and Mr. Mitch Rhodes, who are responsible for compiling the data that we were about to share with you guys here. All right, go ahead. All right, what you have on before you there, that's just a synopsis from the 22-23 school year of all of the students that chose to go to DAEP. And you have the significance there from that transition year, grade 8 to 9. You know, that is on our radar screen. We continuously look at that as those young people transition from middle school to high school. That freshman year is kind of like Katie bar the door. And so we are trying to, you know, get together services for those young people and just see if we can minimize that number moving forward. But that's that graphic right there is certainly indicative of what it is that we actually experience with that transition year, as well as that grade 5 to 6 transition year. Right. And there you have by all of our campuses. You can go all the way through that and see the numbers in total. But I want to bring to your attention the red that's there. Those are students that were assigned to DAEP and then withdrew. You know, we have the responsibility of ensuring that we track those students and have an appropriate leaver code for them, or they will come back and hit us as dropouts. So, you know, the parents say that they are not going to go to DAEP and they're going to go to homeschool, or they're going to go to a different district somewhere else in the state, then we ensure that they do that, or we are tracking them down and say, hey, where are you? We've got to get that valid leaver code in order to keep our graduation rates what they are and our numbers in middle school what they are, in accountability jail for that. And again, this is another depiction by elementary home campus. As you can see that for some of our larger elementary schools, those numbers are pretty consistent throughout the year. Anywhere from 10 to 12 students that have gone to DAEP this past school year. Same thing for our middle campuses, our middle school campuses there, and our larger middle school campuses have more students there at the DAP. That's the law of averages there. You got more kids, you're gonna have more misbehaving, you're gonna have more that are going to go to the DAEP. And if you look on the next slides, you'll see the high school campuses, same synopsis scenario. We've got our 2 comprehensive high schools with Tyler High and Legacy, and the numbers are shown there. Those are the numbers that include the students who are assigned that didn't go. Those numbers are in those numbers. We didn't take those out of that total for those particular campuses. And here is the vape students that you see them highlighted in red. We had a total of 138 students that went to DAEP for the THC type vape, and 260 for the non-THC type vape. Outside of just your standard violation of student code of conduct, those were the highest numbers that we've had over there. And
What does EE stand for?
Excuse me?
EE, what does that stand for? Retaliation EE, non-assault EE, aggravated assault EE.
Non-school employee, and then
Which one?
he's saying the EEs.
That's a good question. I have to pull the code on that one. You have that in your vocabulary? We'll have to get back to you
I
on that,
stumped
Mr.
you?
Burkfield.
Good.
You stumped us on that one right there. We have to pull the book. I've got the new book here, but I don't think those things are in there.
homework
but a homework assignment. We'll get you on that.
Okay.
Yeah, so
So-
to let you know what the EE stands for.
Just a
on
comment in
that.
regards to the vaping. Now, these are high school kids, right?
Not
Or
necessarily.
elementary, high school, middle school,
You'll see there's
et
a
cetera.
slide.
Okay, so they can't purchase these items themselves, can they?
Not legally.
Not legally. Okay, so the problem is that they're doing it illegally, and apparently the parents are not aware of it in this case, and they're bringing it to the campuses as well.
That is correct.
Okay.
Parents
Sometimes.
can be aware of
They
it.
can
Yeah,
be.
that's what
yeah.
I say. Sometimes they are
hard.
actually bringing the parents' vape to school.
Oh,
Some are, we have come across some that are actually selling the vapes for the parents who buy them, you know. So.
okay.
And some parents are aware, and they're struggling at home with it because they're so dang addictive that they're usually, some of them, they're not surprised whenever we pop them with it. So they're reaching out for help as well.
Extracurricular event, EE.
Is it? Is that your guess?
If you're
Or
correct.
is that real?
That's my guess.
Okay.
On the THC, and Dr. Crawford, I know we may have had something talk about this. Is it a felony if they have THC? And was there some discussions about changing what a felony was at some point at the state with the amount?
Yeah, Chief Brown's back there at the back shaking his head, and
Last year.
there was discussion about that.
But nothing.
But the concentration is such that it is extremely potent. I guess the potency of what they put in the vapes is something that concerns legislators because of how potent it is versus just a regular old, I guess, marijuana joint, I guess. I don't know much about that, Chief does.
They do, not this exception beforehand, it will change the law. So I thought they would pick it up to change.
And we're seeing kids extremely high with, I mean, more than you'd have with a typical marijuana cigarette in regard to this. So there's an issue there. I understand some of the hesitation to not change the law because of the concentration of it. And then here in Smith County, we have expectations on behavior of our residents and of our citizens and of our students. And so unlike other counties, I just don't think that they've been as aggressive on probably reporting some of this. So it's a challenge for us, for sure.
So if it is a felony, does that put them in DAP longer, or is it
Yes.
regardless?
Yes. Yeah. Vape pen for THC, I mean, non-THC vape pen, automatic to DAP starting now is how many days?
Mandatory 30. on the
Mandatory
first.
of 30. So if you've got a controlled substance on THC, how much is that?
It's, on the first time, it's mandatory.
Still 30? Okay, there you go. How about repeaters?
Then we start to move, you go 45, 60, we go 90.
You
know,
got a
can't go.
ballpark guesstimate of how many of those that we're seeing?
Yeah, we got recidivism
Oh, you do? Okay, good. All right.
also.
Yeah, and after your first placement at the DAP for whatever, but it's this upcoming school year, the first placement you will be eligible for the program to learn the succession program for vaping, to take a couple of days off of your time there. But if you should go back, then you don't get that luxury of having the reduction in time. It's about the educational piece and the counseling of it all to try and get you not to come back and basically to get your help that you need to get off of the vape. Yeah. Oh, sir, you got the deal.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna fire you over here.
That's the
All right, this is just a depiction of the total vapes and the percentage as it relates to the total of it all. So on to the next one. All right, and Mr. Newsom, you asked about elementary schools, and there you are, right up two from the bottom. Your number of elementary kids with vape. Okay. And there are your offenses for our middle schools. Of course, the numbers are higher there. And next you have the high school numbers. Yep. And Dr. Crawford, these are your recidivism rates, which of course is on our radar screen to try and reduce those numbers for kids going anywhere from 2 to 3 times or even more to DAEP.
But that's total.
That's total,
I
not
was-
just for vape,
The
no.
lens that I was looking at was for vapes.
Yeah, that's total, but we'll certainly work to get those numbers. This
Okay.
objective with recidivism is to try and reduce that number and figure out why it is that that young person keeps making poor choices to get to the DAEP. And that is the work that Mr. Rhodes and Ms. Pinkerton, they know that is a part of the process when the young people are there to decrease that rate per school year.
And the most we had on vapes for as a repeat was 3 times. Nobody went over 3 times.
Now, I would like to say this, that with any student that's assigned a placement at the DAEP, parents have the right to appeal that placement.
Along the same lines, the parents are notified prior to the placement via the principal on the campus that there have been some problems associated with it, unless it's one of those that automatically place them in DAEP. So the parents are aware in most cases of these situations, except maybe the vaping or something like that, but the other offenses, right?
Yeah, they're always aware because the way we implement our discipline in our district, there's been much parental contact because they've had conversations if, for say they were disturbing class, went to ISS, there's communication of that. So in reference to what you're talking about, if it becomes a discretionary placement or a placement for a cumulative effect of, excessive discipline referrals, then that parent will have gone through the process with them, And one of the things that is noted in the changes for this year is that referral, that if your student goes there, like a mandatory placement, for instance, for purpose of special education services, a student can be, referred or whatever, provide that information to the parents about that if a student goes to DEP, So those things, will hopefully pick up things that could possibly fall through the cracks if you've got a behavioral issue or other concerns.
Okay.
Do we start the school year with anyone with a DAEP placement?
Yeah,
Yes,
can you roll over?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we have, we will have more start this school year than we have had since I've been in Tyler, and it's primarily because of vaping.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
From summer school, that's aware.
Now, I heard, like you hear a lot of things, that we had a waiting list for the DAEP. Did we have a waiting list this year?
We've not had a waiting list for DEP since before Dr. Crawford came.
Okay.
Since he's been here, he facilitated a process to make sure we didn't have a waiting list, and then eventually the board gave us more space.
Right.
So we don't have capacity
Pete.
issues at all.
Yeah, when DAEP used to be in this building, we had a wait list, but we really had an early leave list because as kids were onboarded, we were cutting their time short because this building is not conducive for an alternative school, but a former elementary school that was probably built for 600 kids is conducive for that. We're not trying to fill it up, but we are certainly don't have a wait list. And I'll also take this moment for our annual statement that one bad acting student will not hinder the educational opportunities of the other 21 in the classroom. So this board has been good about supporting our administration as we have fulfilled that philosophy, and that's not going to go away. So now we want our teachers to professionally manage their classroom. They need to be instructionally engaging, understanding what a child's learning needs are as well. So we don't want to just be in a rush to get someone out of a classroom, but certainly we want to make sure the other 21 kiddos or 24 or 25, that their educational opportunity is not hindered. So there's your annual statement.
Yes.
It's a great program. Appreciate how y'all do it over there. Your efforts to instill discipline into especially young men is commendable. They need it. They crave it. They need it to survive in this world we live in. So keep it up. Let us know what we can do to help. And we want them productive citizens. It's not just punitive. It's to try to get them to understand how to live in this world we live in. They're going to be in our community when they grow up. So this is a big part of what we do.
I know just from personal experience, a young man that I know well had, I mean, it's crazy that 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. I mean, that's prime time for boys to start acting out, feeling tough and all that. But, you know, he had a placement there a couple times, and then probably more than that over the course of his career. But during that time, he had a deal happen, and he had to go back, and he was not looking forward to it because he knew what was going to be required of him when he went there. And so to me, it was, I mean, he did make a mistake, but it started clicking that I do not want to go back, you know. So anyway, and he hadn't been back since.
Good.
Praise God. Knock on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood.
So, okay.
The joy in which Ms. Pinkerton and Mr. Rhodes do their job amazes me.
Yeah, really. One other thing I want to maybe address. Do we encourage our principals not to send them to DAP? How do we manage that?
We encourage our principals to use good campus management, just like we encourage teachers to use good classroom management, to have conversations, to get to know their students so that they don't just approach a student when there's a crisis. You know, if you already know a kid and you know their habits, or you might know what they're going through at home, and our campuses and our administrators are doing a really good job at knowing the students. And I would say that over the last 2 years, we've grown extremely in the areas of intervention. When Ms. Dykeman really stressed to APs about, you know, knowing what's going on with your kids, going to those classrooms, walking those halls, knowing them. And so, yes, we do that. It's not that we encourage principals not to place them there. We try to give the principals the tools and the capacity that will aid in them not needing to or not committing DAP, you know, necessary infractions.
Okay.
Mr. Newsom, I'll say this, on page 25 through page 30, no, actually page 32 of your student code of conduct here, let's remember there are a variety of different discipline actions that occur throughout a school day. One of those is counseling of an administrator on a young man or young lady's behavior that sometimes a teacher says, send them away. And so we go through that process a lot with our students before we ever get to the point to where we want to send them a DAP.
Yeah.
Instructionally speaking, we don't want our kids out of the classroom. We don't.
Right.
We're going to do what we can to keep them there, but we're also not going to restrict our principals from making sure that they do that. I think, you know, the only way you go to DAP
Commit the offense.
is to commit the offense.
Right.
The one discretionary placement a principal really has is a serious and persistent misbehavior, like you get 19 referrals. Well, then now you got to go.
Yeah.
So that would be somewhere where we'd say, you know, you could call a serious or persistent misbehavior 3 referrals. That's a little bit too aggressive to send somebody to DAP.
Right.
As it's germane to DAP placement. So usually it gets deeper into the level 2, level 3, level 4 is a felonious offense, and we don't like those. Before you have these automatic and mandatory placements in DAP, and sometimes you probably get feedback from teachers that say, my principals don't ever do anything. Yeah, they do. Maybe sometimes they don't, but yes, making them take a break from your classroom for one day is a strategy that I executed quite often. I knew Jackson Crawford did not need to be in Miss Lucy's class. They needed a break from each other. And so we would figure out a way for him to get that BC calculus. He didn't take BC calculus. But Miss Lucy taught it for us. But there are different strategies, and our principals do a good job of that. What they need to do a good job of doing is communicating with that teacher what discipline was provided. even if it was counseling of that student, putting their arm around them and saying, I'm tired of you doing that. It may take 10 times for you to say that before it clicks or it doesn't click. But that is a disciplinary
Strategy.
result. I mean, so as long as we communicate it back, we need to be satisfied that that's happening. And then if it gets to the point of having to send them to DAP after serious and persistent misbehavior, we've done everything we can to coach that young student of ours to behave correctly at school.
Okay, thank you all. Appreciate it as always. We have a TASB update, 121. There's some local policies.
There's some policies in there. Y'all take a look at them. Mr. Leverett, what we typically do is we provide the first reading opportunity. We've looked at it, shuttling on to y'all to provide it for y'all can do some reading between now and the next meeting. If you've got any questions there's usually an administrator. And you can call me or you can call one of our top deputies, and we may even throw you down to a chief or an executive director if there's a specific answer that you may need. But there's the policies for you.
Okay, yep, and same with the local policies, first reading. We'll just, if you have any questions, reach out to Dr. Crawford, and he can guide you in the right direction in between now and next meeting. And then we have future business. Man, we're getting kicked off again. Summer school graduation, board workshop, then school is cool, and
Convocation.
all of a sudden, we got first day of school, August 16th. Wow,
They're coming.
they are coming. So I'll go ahead and entertain a motion for adjournment.
Nothing we can do about it.
I move that this meeting be adjourned.
Do I have a second? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.